Because of the movement of the water, the trees on the bank of a river, when reflected on the water, seem to move. Similarly, when the eyes move, because of some mental derangement, the land appears to move also. So what's the cause of this? What's the biggest problem? Maya. And what causes Maya? Desire. Maya is caused by desire. Very good. And what causes desire? Envy. It's a big thing, what causes it. And it's called false ego. This is the biggest. When the material world is created, what's the first thing that's created? False ego. All the main big elements are created, but the first subtle one is false. In other words, when they make a prison, when they build a prison, they don't, first of all, they make the prison because they know there's going to be some prisoners. They don't say to the prisoner, just wait there a minute while we build a prison. They won't be very successful. They have to actually make an arrangement. So if Krishna, first of all, creates the arrangement, false ego, and then as soon as we desire to actually try and enjoy Krishna's energy, immediately it's there waiting. So we're either in false ego or real ego. There's no real in between. If we're not in real ego, it means automatically we're in false ego. And it's just a matter of degrees of false ego. In the material world, we say another devotee has a big false ego. But actually if we say that, it means we've got a big false ego also. So we see things moving in this world, we see all the different interactions, and we relate to them out of false ego. Shakespeare actually was very intelligent. He wrote many couplets or poems, and one of them he was saying that, I don't know what it belongs to, but he said the whole world's a stage. And all the living entities in the world are actually play actors on that stage. So nobody takes a play seriously. Actually we do. If we become absorbed in it, then there's tears come. And so many things. This is what's happening in the material world. We're absorbed in thinking this is reality. I heard there was one actor, I think it was in Orissa, he was so good, he got so into the part that he became that part. He used to train and train and train. And one day they asked him to play Hiranyakashipu. No, they asked him to play Nrsingadev. And he got so into the part that he actually killed Hiranyakashipu. And he went to prison. I'm going what I've heard, but this is to illuminate a particular point, that eventually they actually let him go because they saw that actually that it wasn't really him. It was another thing. What was it? It was his desire to engage in a particular activity became so strong. So like in the material world, we think it's us who are acting. It's impossible to see how it's the three modes of nature. But actually we're haunted by the three modes of nature. What does haunted mean? When somebody is, as we are now, if somebody becomes haunted by a ghost, then they start to act in an unusual way. Why? Because there's two living entities in the body. One's trying to overtake the other one. And so therefore sometimes one is getting superiority and sometimes the other. And so this is the situation. But we're actually usually completely haunted if we're identifying with this body at all. Prabhupada when he was leaving this world, what did he say? One of the things he said is that we are not these bodies. Just minutes before he left this world. And we hear it every day. But to actually understand that we're not the body means we can really engage in devotional life. Whenever we think we're the body, we're on the platform of false ego, it's very, very difficult to engage in devotional service. Why is that? Any answers? Eh? Well, we're using the body in Krishna's service, aren't we? So why is it wrong to think we're the body? Yeah. We think we're the doer and we think we're the enjoyer. But when we're off the bodily platform, then we're doing everything for Krishna. This is how we can tell. There are some more symptoms as well. What's the symptoms of material life given in the Bhagavatam? 6 whips. What are they? Yeah, in English. Yeah. So we can tell by the degree we're affected by these things how much we're influenced by the body. And what's the symptoms of being free from the 6 whips? Two main things actually mentioned in the Shastras. One's not attached to material possessions. Attachment is very, very small. If you see somebody who's really advanced, they're not really interested in anything material. They're not even interested in their upkeep. They know that Krishna will supply everything we need. And all our problems come from forgetting that Krishna is supplying. So this is why this movement is a great benediction to everybody, because we've got the supreme occupation which can really absorb us and keep us off the bodily platform. What is that? Sankirtan Yogi Priyaye Yajantihi Sumedasha. By chanting the holy name. So when I came, I just had a nice rip-roaring kirtan. And everybody gets a taste for feeling off the bodily platform somehow or other. Still there's some false ego there. But if we really get into the kirtan, we forget this material world. And actually it says there's a nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam to prove this point about hearing. I can't remember the Sanskrit at the moment. Yatre jante kata mrishtas Trishnaya prashamo yataha nirvaram yatra bhuteshu nodvigo yatra nodvigo yatra kaschanaha. So it means that when topics about the Supreme Personality of Godhead or topics about the transcendental world are discussed, pure topics, he says for the time being, at least for the time being, the audience forget all material hankerings. And not only that, they actually they lose their envy of one another. And also they become freed from anxiety and fear. So we feel that for the first 5 minutes of a Bhagavatam class maybe. We're listening to it, and then after a while we start to get in the modes again. But if we're really hearing, then one's elevated into that particular pastime. Lord Chaitanya he was hearing one pastime, I forgot which one it is actually, and he said, go over it again, read it again. 100 times he heard that pastime, and he was experiencing bliss every time. So this is the potency of being on the spiritual platform. On the spiritual platform, we're remembering, where is the symptoms of in relation to Krishna of being on the spiritual platform? How do we see Krishna? This is mentioned in the Shastras. It's in the Bhagavad Gita. The purport is there's nothing but Krishna. Krishna is the doer of everything and is in every situation. And failure to see that is actually means we automatically become on the false ego platform. So we may think that actually to show the power of false ego, in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, does anybody remember Jambavan? So when we read the story, we don't always... Prabhupada puts the stories in such... It's a long time since I read the Krishna book, actually, so I'll not comment on that. But in the 10th canto, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur starts to elaborate on that particular pastime. And what happened is, what's the story? This Shaman Takajul is that the jewel was stolen it was taken out by Satyajit's brother, Prashena. And while he was hunting with this jewel around his neck, a lion came and killed Prashena. Took the jewel and making its way. Then who saw him? Jambavan. So then he killed the lion, and then he took the jewel back to the cave. And so there was a rumour in Dwarka. Satyajit was thinking, looking sidelong at Krishna, that he'd stole the jewel. And this rumour got out, and so Krishna heard. And to protect his name, he decided to retrieve the jewel. And so he went along the way, he saw the dead son, the Prashena who had been killed. And then he saw the lion who had been killed by Jambavan. And then he saw then he went to the cave. He followed the footprints and went to the cave. And what did he see in the cave? What's the first thing he saw? He saw Jambavan's son playing with the jewel. And he's just about to go and collect the jewel, and the maid saw Krishna and she screamed. So immediately Jambavan... Now listen, Jambavan is a pure devotee. Krishna is his worshipful deity. So, but when he came in, what did he see? Three things had happened actually. He'd become attached. He was attached to his son, and he was greedy for the jewel. He was attached to the jewel. Some subtle attachment had come. And there was one more, I forget what it is now. Greedy, attached, attachment, fear. And because he was attached and he saw somebody trying to take the jewel, he became angry. Vita, raga, bhaya, krodha. These are the three things which prevent us from taking to spiritual life. So when he looked at Krishna, what did he see? He saw a competitor. And so therefore he immediately, even though he was a pure devotee of Krishna, he started to fight with him. So this is emphasizing the power of the illusory energy. As soon as we actually become attached to anything, then our Krishna consciousness is very much affected. So that's one thing. What's another thing that can cause us to be put more into illusion, more under the modes? There's another story in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Does anybody really know Vivid? Vivid. He was a griller. So actually he was a devotee of who? Who was he a devotee of? No. He may have been later, I don't know, but he was a devotee of Lord Ramachandra. And but then, what happened later on in the pastimes in the Krishna book? He fought with Balaram. So Balaram was enjoying with the gopis, they were having pastimes, he was drinking Varuni, and then Vivid had been, terrorizing the whole area. And when he saw Balaram and the gopis, he thought, I'll terrorize them also. And so he came over, and he started... And Balaram became angry at his antics, so he threw a rock, and Vivid dodged it and started raising his eyebrows. And then he started doing some rude things then. He started showing his backside to the women and so many things. And so Balaram really became angry. And they were fighting. And eventually Balaram struck Vivid's collarbone and killed him. But the point is how was it that Vivid was fighting with Balaram? He's a devotee of Ram. How was he fighting with... Ahankar, but how did he obtain that Ahankar? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that he was... what's the word? Lakshman's brother, Ram's brother Lakshman, he was discourteous to him. He insulted him. And as a result, he was put into a wrong association. And by that he was put in the association of Narakasura, Bhaumasura. And by that association he went down. He became degraded. So this is another pastime from the Krishna book, which shows how we become influenced by false ego. So that's what it tells us in our philosophy, that Trinadapi Sanichena Tarorapi Sahishna Amanina Manadina Kirtaniya Sadahari. It's not just our effort to try and get out of false ego, but it's the mercy of Krishna. And like Dvivedi, he lost his intelligence and he insulted a devotee, and as a result he became absorbed in false ego again. He couldn't even see his master in front of him. So this is our position. If we can't see Krishna, it's the influence of the false ego, influenced by what the three modes of material nature: Prakriti, Kriyamanani, Gunakami, Kamani, Sarvasya, Ahankara, Vimurahatma, Kartaham iti manite. The only difference between a devotee's activities and that of a materialist is that what is the difference in this Bhagavad Gita verse? Yeah, the devotee is understanding that I'm not the doer. That Krishna's working in this situation, and I have to try and dovetail my activities in line with Krishna's. So this is how a devotee doesn't become disturbed in a situation. He's seen that this situation seems to be going wrong. I've weighed up all the odds and it should be going like this. And therefore, if we're in false ego, then we become disturbed. If we're in real ego, we're thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm doing all the things right, but it's still going this way, so there must be some other intervention from some point. And therefore, he always leaves room to remember Krishna in the situation. And this is actually his saving grace. This is how he remains peaceful. Because at the end of the day, if we're attached to the result and we don't get it, we become disturbed. But if we're attached to pleasing Krishna, and Krishna is everything, Krishna's the controller of everything, no blade of grass moves without the Supreme, then we think, okay, things will manifest in due course of time why this is happening. Well, this doesn't stop us making all endeavour in a situation to do it in a Krishna conscious fashion. In this way, we're not bewildered by this, like it says in this particular verse, the ripples of a river. What does it mean? It means the ripples are actually making the reflection move. This is like the three modes of nature making this body move. It's not actually moving. The soul's not moving. What's that verse in the seed verse? Rite artam yat patiyeta trat patiyeta shatmani. Let me finish it off. Yato basa yata tamaha. And this verse also says that yatam basa. What does that mean? Yata, it's using this example of the water. Yata just as ambasa, by water. So the illusion, it says this particular verse in the seed verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's explaining how whatever appears to have any reality in this world, Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Ki Jai, whatever appears to be any reality in this world, if it's not connected with Krishna, then it has no reality. Just like it's a reflection. If we have a reflection of light into a cave, it's just a reflection, it's not the real thing. If we think that light is coming from the mirror, but it's not, it's coming from the sun. So when we see things coming from the immediate cause instead of coming from Krishna, this is the illusion. So everybody understand that point? Reflection in a cave is coming from the sun, but the sun's not directly shining into the cave. It's maybe shining off a few walls or off a mirror. But we think the mirror's the cause, or we think the walls are reflecting the light. No, it's coming from the sun. So every activity in this world is not coming from what we see as the immediate cause, it's coming from the remote cause, Krishna. This is explained in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. How the material modes of nature is the cause of all activities, but depending on a living entity's relationship or identification with that activity, he either enjoys or suffers. It's all dependent on his consciousness. Nothing is actually bad in this world, and nothing is good, but our perception makes it good and bad. What's that word? Purusha prakriti stohi bhunkti prakriti yangan karana gunasangasya sadasat janmayonishu. He says the living entities in this material world carry their different conceptions of life from one body to another, due to their association with the modes of material nature. Thus they meet with good and bad amongst various species of life. This is good, this is bad. But the devotee, he says a devotee doesn't see good and bad. He just sees Krishna. What's the verse which emphasizes that point? Narayana parasavena katushyana bibbite svarga apavarga narakeshu apitulyasya darshanam. That a devotee doesn't care whether he's in heaven, in hell, or in the, what is the other one? Or he's liberated. Svarga, liberated. Apavarga. Narakeshu, hell. Because he's only interested in the service of Krishna. So our key is to be not just, this is the point actually, is that when we go about devotional service, the tendency is, in the mode of passion especially, we have to keep busy, especially for young bhaktas. Just keep them busy, and then the mind will be kept out of mischief. You know, if you've got a mischievous little boy, you don't keep him on his own, he's just called more mischief. You stand him in the corner, he'll be looking around at the rest of the class, causing more disturbance. So you have to engage him. So this is the thing, is that in the beginning of devotional service, we have to be very much physically engaged. And then it takes the mind off. The mind's uncontrolled. It's just floating from one thing to another to another. And when we're engaged in some activity, then it's satisfied. And then later, of course, we have to be able to, think about things without just doing things mechanically. We have to be able to weigh up the situation. We have to become more introspective. So then we start to get more room to make our own choices. So this is when the difficulty can come. And what tends to happen is devotees, if we don't learn to act in this platform, we just become absorbed externally in activities and we lose the taste. We're not absorbed in the activity. It's just a material activity. Okay, we're doing it for the temple, we're doing it for the for the altar we've got at home and so many other things, but there's no absorption. So a devotee has to absorb his mind, not in this yata ambasa, in the illusion, but he has to absorb his mind in seeing Krishna in that situation. And then we become amazed how free from anxiety and fear we reach that platform. So this is a very important point, to learn to see Krishna in all our dealings and activities. So, who's a devotee in the Srimad Bhagavatam who could do that? There's many actually. One really good one. One really good one. A really good example. He was related to Ambarish. That's a good one, but I was thinking of one related to Hiranyakashipu. Prahlad. I mean, when we think about what he went through, anybody remember any of the particular punishments his father tried to inflict upon him? Yeah, can you imagine if somebody was just going to throw you off a cliff? Or there's a big elephant coming and they're just going to put you under its foot. Or, there's a load of snakes in the room, just stuck you in the room. Very fearful situation. They say Kaliya serpent, is described as being fear personified. A snake is fear personified. And he was put among snakes, poisonous snakes, and he was just chanting Hare Krishna. I remember last time I went to India, I was walking, where was it? That's right, I was walking to the ashram, and there was this guy with something on his shoulder. Oh no, it was round his neck. And I thought it was, some piece of rope or something. When I got level with him, I thought it was a snake. And I nearly died. Oh, God. I just went, what to speak of Prahlad Maharaj? And that snake, it's like they've had the fangs taken out and they're not dangerous. They just use them to, to make money. Come and have a look at the snake, give a few rupees like that. So one last point is that, and this is the greatest problem, is that when we are influenced by false ego, then what happens is we become, we meditate on, Jayato Vishayang Pungsha, Sangat Teshu Vijayate, Sangat Sanjayate Kama, Kama Krodha Vijayate. We become absorbed, and then we become desirous of enjoying that situation. Lust starts to appear in the heart, and then all the other bad qualities come. It happens in a split second, in a few seconds, by our meditation. And so much so that Arjuna was asking Krishna, Ato kena prayuktayam, papam chartya prusha, anichcham apivarshne, niraham eva Bhaskara. Yeah. Niyojitaha. He said, why is it that even though I'm understanding what you're saying, and I want to act like that I can't? It's as if I'm impelled not to act. He says it's lust, Arjuna. It's lust. It's very deep in the heart, and this is the all-devouring sinful enemy of the world. By contact with the mode of trying to enjoy. So once a devotee said that the problems in ISKCON earlier were due to not getting out of the mode of passion. Devotees saw themselves as the doer. They didn't pass it on to Krishna. They tried to enjoy the situation, and it was disastrous. They didn't get out of the mode of passion. And so the mode of passion is one step away from the mode of ignorance, but it's also one step away from the mode of goodness. And so this movement, Prabhupada says in this verse, is meant to cultivate the mode of goodness. These activities we're performing, cultivating a platform of goodness. But then, this platform, we have to become Krishna conscious, and this is the effort. We have to start developing a relationship with Krishna. Our rounds become meaningful, our prayers become meaningful. It's no longer a mechanical thing. And then we come out of this, then from that mode of goodness, we can transcend and we can become situated in devotional service, Shuddha Sattva. So everything we do, we have to try and absorb ourselves in. It shouldn't become a ritualistic thing. And this is the way we can maintain devotional service. If we absorb ourselves in the moment, then that moment becomes pleasurable because it's linked to Krishna. If we're not absorbing ourselves, then it becomes a disturbance in due course of time. Okay, so we can stop there. Does anybody have any comments or questions? We've got 5 minutes left.